Hi, how are you? Today we are going to study about Behar, again, continuation of the yesterday's portion. Behar means mountain. Um, when we talk about these parashas and Torahs, I always tell that we study about the mnemonics. The mnemonics means number. Those days, what happened in the Jewish world, or in any time, you can say that they never had any printing press or anything, so that they can number the verses and they can choose chapters, something like that, because they do not know where it starts, where it ends, what is the the beginning word or ending word or anything. They do not know. So what they did was they did the mnemonics. They chosen kind of a character, the content, the word, and then they place the number for that one, and then they started dividing the portions into parashas, and that's why this Behar has got 57 numbering system. How with 57 it came? There are two factors in this one. In this parasha, what it is one is Shemitah, and the second one is Yovel, meaning in English is Jubilee. Shemitah means seventh year of the celebration. When you call seventh year, the seventh year is like 6 years you suffer or you work, not suffering. 6 years you do hard working. Seventh year you take rest. Like in the days that we say, 6 days you work hard, and the seventh day you take a day off, which is called a Sabbath day. But in the years, it is called a Shemitah year. At the same time, OEL Jubilee is 7 times 7, meaning 49 years of hard work and labor, and the 50th year is called the Jubilee year or OEL. So in this Jubilee year, what happens is, if there is a slave has been there in the family or anything, he is released to go back to his families. Any debts will be released in the seventh year of Shemitah. Your debts will be released. It will be go back. Whatever it is going back to your owners. And then the same way, if a land in Israel, you cannot possess the land, and if you possess the land, only you can lease the land. So after 40 years or 49 years of leasing, the 50 years of the leasing, that land should go back to the owners. That's a good law, because if that law would have been exercised in our countries, so many landowners would have gotten back their lands, in a better way. So that's how the Shemitah and the OVL works out. I said Shemitah, Behar number is 57. Shemitah, 7 years, and OVL Jubilee is 50. When you add this together, it's 57. So the 57 number for the Behar, that's how it has been done. So, in the book of Ezra, there are two characters been mentioned in this portion. One is Bethiel, and the second one is Akusa. In the book of Ezra, second chapter, it talks about the Zebathiel and his family returning back to Israel. It's also in the beginning of the chapters of Ezra, it talks about that the exile was about 70 years. How come 70 years of exile? Because already 70 Shemitahs were being desecrated in the land of Israel by the Jewish people. Now there's an exile time, so they're exiling, not by their own, but as a plan of God. So 70 years they were exiled out of this Israel land. So after 70 years, they're coming back. One of them is Bathiel, is the one who comes back again. So, what is the exact meaning of this Shemitah and this Jubilee year, and what exactly Behar talks about? We know that Behar talks about the mountain, so it is kind of a resting period. It's a resting place. You were supposed to rest back in the land. All these years you were working, you were hard in this land. Now it's a time of 7th year resting back into the land again. We already spent in this world 5,774, 75 years already been gone. We are in the sixth millennium. So when the sixth millennium finishes, seventh millennium is a resting place. When Jesus comes back again in his time, we are all getting back to the land of resting. We're going to take a fantastic resting over there. That's the time we are in. Any momento, God can come. Jesus can come. We are in the sixth millennium, folks. Remember, we are in the sixth millennium. It's the end of this year. Any moment, Jesus can walk in and get us in there. So how we would know all these things? Like we didn't practice, we didn't exercise, we didn't do anything, we didn't keep Shemitah, and we didn't. No one taught us. No one, give anything to us. Even now, the people inside the Israel or outside Israel, they are not following any Torahs or anything. No sacrifices are being offered because Jerusalem temple is not there. So how this is going to be effective? Because in order to get the rest, in order to get the high level of sanctity, high level of purity, or high level of the tranquility on the seventh year, I need to put the hard work. Hard work meaning that I have to observe all this Torah in my life. I did not do this one. How I'm going to be eligible for this one? How a Jewish person going to be eligible for this one when Jesus comes back? When he is done all these things. Our God is a God of mercy. Our God feeds his mercy and kindness to this world, unlimited. So, in order to exercise all these things, we need to read the Torah daily because Torah is the bread. Torah is the food. So we need to eat the food daily and daily every single time so that we can keep inside and exercise in our hearts. So that will fulfill the expectations of the laws of Shemitah. So we can enter into the rest of the seventh year resting year when the Shemitah comes in. We all can enter in the Jubilee year comes in. We all can enter along with the Jesus Christ. But how to do these things? No one taught us. We Christianity people, we are like, only the New Testament. We don't touch the Old Testament. But Old Testament talks a lot. Jesus was always talking about the Isaiah prophecy. Jesus was always quoting about the Old Testament. He never, went and talked about the New Testament. He never talked about Ephesians. He never talked about the Hebrews. He never talked about the Corinthians. He didn't do anything. He was only referencing only the back in the Old Testament. So remember this one. So how are we going to do this one, man? Where I'm missing it? What I'm missing it? It is not the procedure I'm telling. It is not the ritual process I'm telling. It is the meaning, inner meaning in those procedures, inner meaning in those rituals. That's what I'm talking about here. It is really, really, good to know, when you understand those procedures. So now let us think about this one. In Behar means mountain. Folks, 6 million people gathered on the top of the mountain, at the mountain, Mount Sinai. By the way, what do you mean by Mount Sinai? Mount Sinai means the beginning and the end. Wait, you will say beginning and the end? Is it Alpha and Omega? I don't think so. No. But yes, Sinai is the beginning of something and it is also a symbol of ending of something. What does it begin? In the at the mountain of Sinai, people received, all the 3 million people received from God 613 commandments, including all the 10 commandments, everything. They received total 613 commandments in detailed manner. And God made a covenant with them and then he left them. After that, they were in the desert land for 40 years, and they entered Israel. They lived for some time. They exile in, exile out, exile in and out. They were going on this thing. And now, after that, now in the final days, again, Jesus Christ is going to come in on the mountains, and all the Israel people, all the Jewish people, again will be gathering in the mountain, at the mountain for the resting place. That's the Sinai mountain. Sinai is the beginning in the mountain and the end in the mountain also. So Sinai is basically it's an engagement situation. Marriage is going to come in. Wedding is going to come in. Now we are all locked in the engagement. When you are locked inside the engagement, you cannot do any more, anything on your own now. You are now kind of it's not a slavery thing, but you are now bonded. You're now in the bondage that exactly represents the Mount Sinai Torah. Mount Sinai Torah complete locks in. So in order to get those benefits of the seventh year Shemitah or the Jubilee Shemitah or the millennium year Shemitah when the God comes in rest place, what I should do, how I will do these things. I will read the Torah every single day. I will keep the Torah in me every single day. I will, use the Torah in my life every single day. I will use this Bible every single day. That's how. But in a way that Bible tells, that's what my point is. You can still argue with me. We are reading the Bible, still the same thing, brother. We don't have to do any sacrifices. I'm not expecting to do any sacrifices. Right now, there is no temple. Even Jewish people are not doing any sacrifices now there. Nobody is performing. Most of the Jewish people are not even following the Judaism now. But what Bible talks about is that's what we need to follow exactly. Jesus did what he was supposed to do. Jesus was what he completely a Jewish person and a Jewish guy. We have an opportunity to do what Jesus did. We don't have to do anything what Jesus was not doing. We do not. We don't have to. That is what my point is. So the Sinai mountain is a mountain of like the engagement mountain, and we're expecting now a marriage is getting ready to come in. Folks, I can tell millions and millions of information about this Torah Behar. Behar is mountain. But, one thing we need to know, we need to understand very clearly. We may read all these years, the Bible, in a way that of a blessing of the word. But if you talk about the heroes of the Bible, if you listen and if you think about the heroes of the Bible, go and read Hebrews chapter 11. Hebrews, we don't know who wrote the book of Hebrews. Hebrews, meaning to the Jewish people, very clearly written. Those people have done such heroic actions without anything. They all died. Abraham could not even own a land. He got a promised land. He never owned a land on his name. He was going to buy a cave for Machpelah, cave for Sarah. But he was living in the land for 26 years. That's Israel. That's the Canaan. That's a promised land for him. But he was renting and living in that land for 26 years, folk. The life is, to be lived according to God's will. It's not according to our will. It is not the possession of materials. It's not the possessions acquiring of the knowledge of the intelligence of this world. It is the possession of the acquiring of the knowledge and wisdom and understanding the glory of God. That's what the life is for. We are supposed to be the slaves of God and enjoying his kingship. As I said in the last time, if you become a slave of God, he's going to treat you the same level. He's supposed to treat you the same level as he is. He's going to give you the best things for you. But if you have to be slave, you have to leave everything and get out of this, people in the heroic world. Moses just left the palace and he went and, he was joining his Hebrew people. He thought if he would have been there, he would have been joining the same family in the Hebrew, in an Egyptian family and lived like a king. But he went and identified himself as a Hebrew man and he took the other way around. And, talk about any hero. Enoch or Noah or Abraham or Isaac or Jacob or Joseph, anything. Talk about in the book Sarah. Abraham went through a lot of mockery. Sarah went through a lot of mockery system. Why? They didn't even know where the sound came, and they were just took off from one place to other place. Think about those things, my folks. It is not that, we are just, building temples and building churches, that, and, this all, we're all into some kind of, habits, and we're all into some kind of a routine that we are in. We are not going, it's very difficult for us to pluck it out from the place. But remember, Jesus came after 2,000 years to point out the Jewish system was not right. He was trying to point out after 2,000 years, even then they were into a kind of a practices. So he was pointing out exactly what you guys are doing is wrong. You better correct yourself. So In this way, I'm telling